Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Movie Mortis Podcast, where movie madness lives. My name is Nick. Everybody else, who are you people?
I'm Drew.
I'm Tim.
Nice, nice. And today we'll be discussing Die Hard.
Yes, the greatest 80s action movie ever.
Yes, indeed. Or,
Or in my opinion, it's my personal favorite action movie for a variety of reasons.
yeah, Die Hard. One of the quintessential action movies. And did that movie kick off Bruce Willis's career, or am I hallucinating that
Kind
fact?
of, yeah, he was in that's kind of one of the reasons why the movie was so successful is because Bruce Willis, I think, was starring in either commercials or comedies before then. People didn't see him as like an action hero. In
Hmm.
fact, the producers originally wanted uh Schwarzenegger or Stallone to fill the role of John McClane.
Hmm.
But for whatever reason, they decided to go with Bruce Willis, and well, the rest is history.
Yeah, I read
I,
about
well, I
that.
remember
You first, Tim?
I was saying that I was, back in 2020, I remember watching this Netflix documentary about on Die Hard where they just instead of using Schwarzenegger or Stallone, they wanted a more relatable person, to that's why they chose, Bruce Willis because, they wanted someone who was more relatable and who was just your average policeman and not some huge stud that they could never hope to be. So they just used a regular, an average cop to fill the role of John McClane. So that's why they. I remember seeing that documentary back when we were in TV studio basis class back at the times during COVID. So they wanted McClane to be at least relatable in a sense,
Interesting. I didn't know such a documentary existed. Or was this like some YouTube video showcasing a bonus
on
feature?
Netflix.
Do you know the name of
Netflix.
it?
I don't remember, but I think it was like behind the scenes or something, or I forget the name, but it was about Die Hard. So
Hmm.
Yeah, that's what makes John McClane so like such a good protagonist is that he's a relatable everyman. I mean, when you think about it, you know, he looks like I know this is kind of an overgeneralization, but he looks like he can be somebody's dad, you know?
Yeah.
Like he
Well.
has that kind of, yeah. I mean, even the '80s, Bruce Willis was kind of starting to go somewhat bald, and he has a very like beaten down demeanor about him. He's going through marital problems, and
Oddly enough,
you
he
know,
uh he does have a child in the movie. Well, John McClane has a
oh yeah,
child in
he
the
does.
movie,
Yeah,
so
he does. Yeah,
so
yeah,
you're
yeah,
not
he
you're
does.
not wrong about
And
him being a child.
that fucking journalist piece of shit has to try to exploit them for a TV
Yeah.
fucking thing, which.
Really proving that
Oh,
Don Henley song more correct by the day.
what journalist?
mhm.
What journalist you
I'm
talking
trying
about?
to remember. I'm trying to remember what that guy's name is. He was that guy in the. I think his name was Thornburg. I think.
I
He.
think so.
Yeah, yeah. He is that redheaded journalist who gets punched by Holly at the end.
Oh
You
yeah.
know, when he goes up to John and he's like, tell us what your feelings, and Holly just punches him right in the face, and it's
Pow.
super awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, he was also in the second movie as well. So
Oh really?
yeah, yeah,
I,
yeah,
I
yeah. He's in the second movie.
Oh, interesting. To our viewers, I've only seen the first one. I've only
yeah, I
seen
don't
the.
know
Yeah,
why they
yeah.
did.
Sorry, Tim.
Yeah, I was surprised that Holly or that guy didn't appear in the third movie, which is weird.
Well,
But
that's a conversation we'll save for another day because this is
Yeah.
about the first Die Hard.
What I
Um,
found what I found interesting, sorry, when you mentioned Holly, is that I didn't like she kind of seemed a lot more calm compared to all the other hostages in the film.
oh
Like
yeah. Well, the hostages have to turn to her after Takagi is killed
yeah,
because she was kind of like his second in command almost. I mean, she was the director
yeah.
of something at
And she even got the hint that
Nakatomi
John McClane
Corporation.
was kind of in the building, fighting all the terrorists too. She has to
Yeah,
stay
yeah,
calm not just for the hostages, for her husband, because he'll sort that shit out.
yeah, and people. Something that kind of drives me crazy about Die Hard is that people often say that the how Holly as the female character, quote unquote, takes a backseat according to them. I don't buy that because even though she's not like she's still playing a critical role in the story and in the situation. This
Yeah.
is just she's not she's not Sarah Connor fighting everybody herself,
Oh
but
yeah.
she's still playing a critical role in the story.
Exactly. Do we want to get the spoilers right now, even though we're only 5 minutes in?
Yes,
Even at the very
we,
end
we should
when
we should have we should have probably said at the top of
all right,
this that spoilers. We're going to
there will be
to all of
spoilers.
our viewers, we're gonna treat the plot of this movie as if you've seen it before, as if you've seen it before. So spoilers.
Spoilers alert. All right. The spoilers begin. So at the end, we're like, Hans, Alan Rickman, is holding
Yeah.
Holly hostage. And
Hmm.
then he's has that reach around the freaking gun taped to his
Yeah,
back.
he has his gun taped to his back. Yeah.
Yeah, and then like he's like Holly now, like she like punches Hans away, and it's almost
Yeah.
like they actually know how to work together, even though in the beginning of the movie it's established that their relationship is very very strained.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and that's kind of the main point of the movie, right?
Yeah,
People talk about like, what is this particular movie about? The
like
movie is about a man trying to repair his marriage. I mean, yes, it has these
yes.
cool action sequences and stuff, but that's the point of the movie is that he's trying to,
Well, to be
fix
fair,
his marriage.
I
And that
always
again, that's one of the things that makes John McClane so relatable and not like the Stallone Schwarzenegger type.
yeah
In a movie like the Rambo movies, for example, Rambo just blows through everybody. And don't
yeah
get me wrong, the Rambo movies, at least the first two, I think are great. But, Rambo just blows through everybody, right?
yeah
But it's not like this in Die Hard. There are moments where he fails, and there's moments where McClane gets vulnerable, like when he's talking to Al Powell, Reginald Bell Johnson's character.
yeah. Like
There are
he's
times where
saying
he gets
to
personal with him.
yeah, well, he absolutely does. I mean, he absolutely does, especially when Al shares that story of him saying he accidentally shot a kid. And one of the most impactful lines in all of, I mean, not in all of cinema, but this line really impacted me, where it's like, they teach you a lot of things about being a rookie cop, but never how to deal with a mistake.
Yeah, yeah, and I think this whole movie has the whole theme. As I was watching this movie last night. It's funny to look at this movie in 2025 because you could argue that this is a movie about the archaic proc- procedure of law enforcement.
Mm-hmm.
Because what Hans Gruber and his guys are counting on is the police, and the FBI following procedure to the letter. That's how they get access to the vault because the FBI shuts down the power, and they knew they were going to shut down the power. The FBI was going to shut down the power because that's a part of their counterterrorism playbook, as Al calls it.
Yeah.
And so you can look at this movie as like as a bit of a statement about sticking too closely to standard
What
protocol and
happens if you
procedure.
keep playing by the book too much?
Yeah, because that'll be preyed upon by people who want by your enemies essentially, and they're going to use it against you.
Yeah, like when you mentioned that there was gonna this movie had like I thought you were gonna be talking about a theme of something. Like I always thought the theme was about forgiveness and redemption, with John trying to repair his wife's marriage and Al trying to move past the mistake of him killing a kid.
Oh yeah, it's about all of that. It's about
Yeah.
all of it.
Yep.
Movies can have multiple themes.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
I mean, but like I said, I just think it's interesting looking at this movie in 2025 with all the stuff that has happened. Um, but it's still very much. It never gets to the point where you like feel uncomfortable, watching the movie.
Oh yeah.
It's still very much a fun
Oh
action packed
yeah, I
movie.
mean Bruce Willis. I almost call him Bruce Wayne. Bruce Willis is still throwing around those quips like when he's in the vent saying,
Yeah,
"And now I know how a TV dinner feels," or "David
yeah,
John, what the hell are you doing?" Or and of course the old classic, "Yippee ki yay, motherfucker!" Oh, I said it like a
um,
freaking gangster. But he says, "Yippee ki yay, motherfucker!" Or
and
if
he
Han,
says that, and he says that French so nonchalantly, nonchalantly in that movie.
Yeah.
Where it's like in the sequels, it's kind of built up to that line, but
Mhm.
in this movie, he just says it as a comeback to Hans as he's dude. The scenes where him and Hans are talking through the radio are so good.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can tell, and what makes Hans such a good villain, especially compared to a lot of other action movie villains at the time, is
Mm-hmm.
that he has this calm presence about him.
Oh yeah,
Like
that's
he seems very assured. He knows he looks like a guy who has thought through every single detail of this plan, you
hmm.
know, every possible scenario of this plan. And he's like, and he never actually, I don't think he ever actually says it, but you can just tell by the way he walks around, by the way he carries himself, by the way he interacts with his guys. He knows that he thinks that his plan will not fail.
Interesting. Yeah, yeah, like he's very calm and collective. He always has a backup plan, and I
Yeah.
mean, he is not afraid to get his hands dirty. Like when he takes,
Oh no.
when he kills Ellis, or when he takes Holly hostage. That's the
Oh,
new toy
and
line from Hasbro.
one of the other kind of themes of this movie is that Ellis, when he does that, when he sells Jean out to Hans, he
Mhm.
for some reason thinks he's helping the situation, but when in reality he's making it worse.
He
You
generally
know.
thought, oh, I could. I mean, yeah. I mean, I didn't pick up on that because like it just sounded like he generally wanted to sell him out to John, but he genuinely thought he was helping.
He probably thought he did, but that's the vibe I got, is that he seems to he's coked out of his mind, right? So he thinks he's helping the situation, and by giving John up, he thinks that if they give John up, because remember, he thinks that there's that line right before he does it where he says to Holly, he's like I'm sick of waiting to see who's going to get us killed first, these
Mm,
terrorists or your husband.
yeah.
Because you can tell that he's just like he's sick of. So yeah, he probably did want to sell it, John, but I think he's like he wanted to, you know, de-escalate the situation possibly,
Mm-hmm.
because I guess he thought that John was doing more harm than good,
Mm-hmm.
but in reality, it was the opposite.
Yeah. Yeah.
And again, I think it plays into the theme of thinking that the law enforcement as well as Ellis himself. Ellis isn't obviously part of law enforcement, but he, they think they're helping by what they're doing, but again, they're making it worse.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Because it's Ellis sells them out. That's the reason that Hans figures out that Holly is John's wife.
Yeah. And also, there's a
You know,
photo on the frame. There's a photo
and
from it.
there's a photo on the frame too.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's part of the reason how he discovers that they're related.
I wanted to mention
And then
something
he
real
puts
quick.
Holly in more danger. He puts Holly in more danger, even though he's fucking hitting on her. You could tell earlier in the movie he's fucking hitting on her,
Oh
probably.
wait. Hans is hitting on Holly or
No,
Ellis?
no, Ellis.
Oh, my bad. Yeah, sorry. I misheard you.
And what were
All
you gonna
right.
say, Nick?
I wanted to mention when you were talking about Hans, like I thought we were gonna have a whole separate like side conversation about that, but Hans, Alan Rickman did freaking amazing at that role. Was
Oh
that
yeah, I
what
think
other
this is
things
one
has
of his.
Alan Rickman played before? Was that his first role, or did he play other things?
He played. So that was his first
Like
major
before
movie
Die
role, I
Hard, because
believe.
there's one role I was really surprised to know he did after watching Die Hard. I looked and I was like, what else did this guy do? I'm like, holy shit, he was Severus Snape from the Harry Potter movies.
Yeah, that was like after Die. You didn't know that?
I didn't know that. Okay, I admit, I didn't know Alan Rickman was Severus Snape, and
But hey,
just
to be fair, I don't watch Harry Potter, so.
yeah, that's like a childhood series to me, and not gonna that game made my
anyways,
childhood. We're still talking
before
about
we
Alan
get
Rickman.
too deep
Don't
into
worry.
Harry
But
Potter.
anyways, we'll steer it back to Die Hard. Let me just turn the wheel. Okay, wheel turn. All right, Die Hard. But yeah, I could actually. It's this. Does Alan Rickman always do that voice when he plays certain characters? Like, because again, him, Hans, and Snape kind of do sound similar. Like, they're
I mean,
I would
I would imagine so. I would
yeah,
imagine
because
so.
he does. Yeah, some. it just makes you wonder. Just makes me wonder, if Alan Rickman's ever got typecast for. Because I'm gonna be honest, I only did just a little bit of minor research, like how you mentioned how they were gonna cast Schwarzenegger or whatever in the movie, but they changed their mind on that. Apparently, I learned it's
because they
based on a
wanted something
book.
more relatable. Yeah, based on a book by Roderick Thorpe. Here, let me look it up actually real quick.
Okie
But it's
dokie.
based off of, and believe it or not,
Hmm.
the
Drew, you're
original
freezing
idea
up.
because so
Yeah,
I
you're,
believe
yeah, you were freezing up.
what?
Sorry, go on.
So Die Hard was based on a book that itself was a sequel to another book, I believe, by Roderick Thorpe.
Hmm.
Let me see here. Um, here, Die Hard source material.
All right.
Nothing Lasts Forever by Roderick Thorpe.
Hmm. Does it have the same characters or?
It's
I mean, I
kind
never.
of, it's a bit different. I think Die Hard is a bit more of a loose adaptation because I believe that Nothing Lasts Forever was a sequel to a book that came out I think a book called The Detective or something like that
Hmm.
from the 1950s, which did get a movie adaptation starring Frank Sinatra. And I think
Really?
when they were casting Die Hard, they were contractually obligated to offer the role to Frank Sinatra,
That's
even though he was
crazy.
like in his 80s, even though I think he was like in his 80s by this point.
Ah, heck. That is
So yeah,
that's insane.
yeah,
Like,
but yeah, it was based off of a novel. I haven't read it personally, but
I never read it either.
I have heard about it, and yeah, I mean Sinatra. That's kind of insane. Even though he was very old by then, I mean that shouldn't even have been a choice. You know,
Hmm.
yeah. Well, they were contractually obligated due to like licensing or something. But yeah, he obviously declined.
I never saw Sinatra as an acting type. I only know him as the music guy.
No, he did some acting. He did some acting.
Hmm. Okay, I feel like I shouldn't be surprised by that, but I am. Yep. Um. So I think I want to comment one thing about how the film has like a lot of like not really callbacks per se. Like they establish something in the beginning, but it all comes back to them, whether it be in the end or the middle or the climax. I don't know. There's a term for it, but I
Yeah,
forgot.
yeah, like the well, one of the things that sticks out to me is kind of like how when John McClane is entering the Nakatomi building, towards the beginning, how the film deliberately shows you all the geography,
Yeah.
so like where where everything is in relation to the other, and also Argyle.
Argyle. Okay, are we gonna talk about
Argyle,
Argyle?
the
Because I
limo
got some
driver.
things
Yeah.
to say about that dude. I got some things to say
All
about
right,
that dude.
all right.
But
Let's
first,
hear him.
can I still talk about that little callback whatchamacall first, or am
Sure.
I on the stand for Argyle? What am I?
Both. Come on.
All right. So first of all, before I say some things about Argyle, let me say some things about the callbacks. Okay. So for starters, like in the beginning of the movie, where like John escapes the terrace, he's in that place with like all the glass buildings. Like not only is that where he gets the
Yeah,
first
yeah,
kill on that one terrace, but that's eventually where they shoot the glass and he gets his like feet injured and whatnot.
yeah, yeah.
And then of course there's that guy in a plane saying, "Hey, if you get stressed, take off your shoes and socks." And
Oh
both John is
yeah,
barefoot
yeah,
throughout the whole movie.
yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. So what made him think it was a good idea to take his shoes off and all that? You
The
know,
dude, well,
Well, because
first of all, that guy on the plane told him to because he was freaking stressed for meeting his estranged wife, and
yeah,
he was
and
just
also
chilling out in a
he was in
hotel.
yeah he was in a private quarters that they have in Holly's office. So he was probably just trying to relax.
Yeah, and then all of a
You
sudden,
know.
boom, terrorist. Oh, he even
Hmm.
says to Han is trying to disguise himself as a civilian. It's better than being with your pants caught down.
Yeah.
Just sorry, just I'm just thinking of some weird ass butterfly effect going down where he's just running around the whole movie with nothing, with like he's he has his shirt and shoes on, but he has no pants. That's sorry, just a
Anyways,
stupid little.
what do you have to say about Argyle?
I don't think he did a lot in that movie except for like drive the limousine and then like punch that one guy in the van. He was just literally chilled out in the limousine the whole time. He was just there. That's it. I thought he played more of a bigger role.
His role is a bit more of like almost like a comic relief kind of thing. Because there's that scene where when they're shooting at Al's car and he's like backing up, it cuts to a scene of Argyle just having fun. I think things like that are done to help alleviate the tension.
Oh,
Because
I
this
understand.
movie is, because this movie, one of the things that makes it such a fun movie is how it cuts between the different perspectives. It's never like on one perspective. It's never
Yeah,
just following one character. Like
I could
if
see
this
that,
movie
but
just
it's
followed,
got to move the
if this
plot
if
along.
this if this movie was just like if you never left John McClane's perspective, this movie would be a super tense nail biter. But because what they do is that they give you information just before the characters themselves find out that information.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah.
I think
I no.
with Argyle, it again, I think his presence is a bit more of a comic relief, and he doesn't have that much screen time either.
He
It's not
really
like he's in the
doesn't.
movie
He
that
really
much.
doesn't, and I don't really see. He really doesn't. He just seems like a little side gig, a little side show.
Yeah, that's the point.
Does he ever appear in the sequels or no?
I know. I don't think so. No.
Because like I don't know, a lot of comic reliefs I see in movies are always somehow involved but important to the plot regardless.
And hey, he does get punched that the Theo that the hacker guy, so he does
Oh,
something.
oh yeah, yeah.
I mean, because if Argyle wasn't there, a couple of those guys, at least Theo might have
Would have
gotten
gotten
away.
away.
But yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if Hans and the rest of the crew would have gotten away because they were pretty in the thick of it with John. But
Yeah.
you know, I
So
will
that's all I
say
gotta
though,
say.
another thing I want to comment on is in a lot of like '80s action movies, a lot of the bad guys' henchmen are just kind of like faceless henchmen that are just there for the body count and for
Mm-hmm.
to have explosion scenes and all that. But I
Mm-hmm.
will say all the henchmen in this movie they're all pretty unique in their own way. Like you got
Oh,
those two brothers, Carl and
the
the other guy, I
long-haired
forget
guy.
his
The
name.
long.
The brother of the long-haired guy.
Oh shoot. Well,
The guy with the glasses.
yeah.
Why am I
They try to give the goons their own personality. Like Theo. Theo was the one that stuck out to me. The hacker.
Dude, I love some of his lines when the police are going in, when the SWAT team is going in, and
Mm-hmm.
they blow up that one armored truck thing, and he goes like, and the quarterback is toast because you can tell he's just having fun.
Oh yeah.
You can tell he's having
It
fun just murdering people.
absolutely, yeah. I definitely picked that up, and I also liked he definitely has some cool interactions with Hans as well. Like the two actions that stood out to me was him just going, "Something tells me you didn't hire me for my colorful personality."
Yeah,
And then
yeah,
there's one where where Hans kind of gives his own little quip where he's like, all right, it's gonna take a miracle for the last lock to be unlocked. Oh, Christmas! It's Christmas! It's the time of miracles.
yeah. And then later he's like, when the FBI shows up, he's like, Hans tells him, "You asked for miracles, Theo. Well, I give you the FBI." Because again, they're counting on the FBI to shut down the power.
Oh yeah,
So,
yeah. It's like they've read the playbook and now and they know all your tricks. They know all the tricks.
I mean, when you really think about it, Hans's plan is actually it's kind of clever because their whole plan is to because remember they're just robbers, like they're not like political terrorists or anything like that. They just want the bonds that the Nakatomi Corporation has in their vault, but
Mm-hmm.
they pose as political terrorists in order to because they want the FBI and the police to waste time negotiating for something that they're not actually wanting to do. Because remember when Hans is on the radio with the police saying how he wants these people released from captivity around the world,
Mm-hmm.
he's literally just shutting his walkie off and going like, "Yeah, I read about them in Time magazine." Because like he doesn't give a shit about these people. Like
Mm-hmm.
about these people about these political prisoners in these different countries. He just wants cover so
Yeah.
that way you can get to the vault. You know.
That
And
makes
he
sense.
also knew, and he also knew that he knew that the FBI guys, when they were got the helicopters, when he
Mm-hmm.
requested transports, he knew that they were going to come fully armed. Like I'm sure he knew they were going to come fully armed. They weren't going to be transport choppers, and that's why they have the whole thing to rig the roof to blow. It's
Oh
both a
yeah.
cover as well as possibly they end up getting the FBI guys in the explosion.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Hans
I
is a
mean,
pretty smart.
if it wasn't for John McClane, I mean, they might
He
have
would
gotten
have
away
gotten
with it.
away with it. He would have
Yeah.
gotten away with it for
And
that meddling McLean and his stupid police squad. Scooby
I
Doo
wouldn't have
Doo.
gotten away with it too if it wasn't for you meddling policemen.
And your stupid Sean. Yippee ki motherfucker. I don't know why do I always say why am I saying it like that, like I'm some kind of gangster motherfucker. Okay, well, anyways, so one thing I gotta mention, I also picked up on while watching this movie, the score. The score is brilliant.
Oh, it's good. It's good. Yeah.
It does kind of remind me a bit of that old like '80s score you hear a lot. Kind of like they're trying to build some kind of suspense. I don't know why.
Yeah.
It's just got that mark of being from its time. The best way I can describe it.
Yeah. I'm
So
trying to figure out who did the score.
I don't know. Well, while Drew's looking it up, Tim, you got anything noteworthy to say about Die Hard?
Like I said, it's funny how as a kid, I've seen bits and pieces of it on cable at the time, and and eventually, like during COVID, I decided to buy the DVD on eBay and what it was all about, and I was like, I'll give it a watch, and I was pretty impressed with it. I'll tell you that much. So yeah, so just but I was mostly, I like you said with Alan Rickman, I was kind of obsessed with him at the time, ever since
Really?
watching Die Hard, and I wanted to see what other stuff he was in, what other movies he was in. So I checked out Galaxy Quest as well as CBGB and a couple other movies that he was in because I did like him just as much. So I wanted to see what else he was in, and I just took an interest in him at the time. So because we all know that he was a pretty good actor, and he didn't star in that much movies, and I wanted to see Love Actually, but haven't had the time to do that. So, but I was pretty
Tim's,
obsessed with Alan. So at the time, and
Tim, when you say you're pretty obsessed with Alan, I have to ask you: does he always play the same like kind of quiet, calculated type like he does in like Die Hard and Harry Potter? Because that's like his biggest roles. Or does he always play different characters? Does he have range? What kind of range does he got?
he has a bit of range. He's got a bit of but he's mostly calm and collected for the most part.
All right, because yeah, again, I didn't start looking into Alan Rickman until like after I saw this movie. I'm like, oh, he was in this and that. Because I definitely checked his IMDb profile. If I recall correctly, he passed away from cancer, right?
Yeah, in
I think
2016, I believe.
Hmm. Rest in peace.
2016, the year of celebrity deaths was 2016.
Hmm. I thought that
Anyway,
was
so
earlier. I thought that was like way earlier because like I think around the time he died, a lot of people noted that he really did his best to fight cancer when filming the Harry Potter movies. And yeah, because I
yeah,
heard about that. I thought it was like earlier than
I'm
2016.
pretty sure it was 2016. And anyway, so the real quick, the music was done by Michael Kamen
Michael.
or Kamen. I
Okay,
don't know
that
how you
name
pronounce
definitely
it.
sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Well, it was 2016. Why do I feel like I've heard that? Michael Kamen. What did he
Michael
do?
Kamen. Not to be confused with Michael Caine.
Oh,
Michael
I know you're talking
Kamen or
about.
Kamen.
Um, Michael. There we go. Michael Kamen or Michael Kamen. One of those two.
Sorry if we butcher it.
Yeah. He has the same. His last name is spelled the same way as Common Writer, which is a. Let's see. Oh wait, he did the Iron Giant.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he did the Iron Giant.
The music for that?
Mm-hmm.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah. He did. He also provided the scores for the 1996 live-action adaptation of 101 Dalmatians,
Okay.
and um, oh, he did the Lethal Weapon series,
Okay.
and there's one thing I saw in here. I'm on his Wikipedia page right now. Um, oh, he did the first live-action X-Men movie,
Well, that's cool.
and the 1985 dystopian movie Brazil, which is on my things I need to watch list.
Yeah, I've heard of that movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So he has a knack for making some orchestral music.
Yeah, but that really works for a movie like Die Hard, though.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Yeah, definitely. And I'm also double checking one more thing real quick because he also did movies for trailers. And one of them just happened to be Wally, and I'm like, wait a second, and I was like, oh, it's just a trailer.
No, he did the music for the trailer.
Yeah,
No, you said movie for trailer. I'm like, what?
yeah, my
What do you
bad.
mean movie for trailer?
Sorry, Oh no, wait, hang on a minute, hang on, never mind. I'm just kind of skimming through the article right now because for some reason Wikipedia on Michael Kamen or Michael Kamen, for some reason they don't. You know how when you browse like an actor or like an artist and they have their filmography and discography, they always have it in nice little columns. They didn't do that
Yeah,
for Michael Kamen or Kamen. They did not fucking do that. They did not put it in columns. So now I have to skim through those
of course they did.
paragraphs.
Of course they did. And secondly, why are you using Wikipedia for research?
It's just basic research. It's not like full
Yeah,
on
yeah,
in
yeah,
depth analysis.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
just I'm
yeah, yeah.
literally just
Fair.
trying to look for the basics and shit.
Yeah,
Oh my
yeah.
gosh, that was me.
Wikipedia is a good. Yeah, Wikipedia is a good for like a shorthand reference, but you know, not
Personally,
much beyond that.
I recommend using Encyclopedia Dramatica for all your research. Don't actually do that. Don't actually do that. Don't actually do that, please. And if you're easily disturbed and offended, don't go on that website.
Anyways, back to Die Hard.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, Die Hard. Die Hard, yay. Or as
Yeah.
some I've started calling it now because of this one video game donkey video. Bonesaw is ready to die hard, brother. Rocket launch my head off. Which reminds me, did anyone see? Apparently, they made like several video game adaptations of Die Hard. I didn't play any of them, but I'm familiar
Yeah,
with the AVGN episode of it.
yeah, yeah. The NES game.
Yeah, and if you want to be a hipster, there's the Irate Gamer episode of it, along with the
Anyways,
yeah. Sorry, just
and as
we're talking
before
about Die
before
Hard,
this
but
well,
anyways,
before this turns into a conversation about video game
I'm still trying to
YouTubers
keep it.
from the 2000s.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
Die Hard.
I will say that I think all of the effects in this in Die Hard I think hold up really well.
Oh yeah,
I think
isn't all of it
you know,
practical?
I'm pretty sure all of it. I mean, this was in the 80s before they had CG, so yeah.
Yeah.
I think for some of the scenes, the actual Nakatomi building, like the actual building they use in the movie, I believe is actually the Fox building.
Wait,
It's actually the
really?
building. I think so. I think that's where 20th Century Fox. It was either their office or like their headquarters, but they used it for some of the exterior shots.
Hmm.
I mean, yeah, it's an actual building in LA though.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Um. Yeah, I
I
didn't realize
I
the
would
actual.
imagine that I don't think they use the interiors for it, but
Well, if
yeah,
they
they
did
use.
if they did not use the interiors for it, what was the front office and everything? Where they were shooting like in
Well,
the desk and
if it was on a studio, they used a good amount of like matte paintings for like the exterior, for when you're looking outside the windows and stuff. You know what I mean?
they used matte
If that's if
paintings?
that if do you not know what matte paintings are?
It's blanking out on me.
Matte paintings are what they used before C in the days before CG. You would have artists paint a background that would be used for like the background for like an outside
Oh,
thing
it's like
or
when those old
whatever.
movies they try. Yeah, I know. Okay, okay. Yeah, sorry. I brain not working.
But yeah, that's what. Yeah, but yeah, the matte paintings though really work though, because you can't the best matte paintings are the ones that you can't tell where they're matte paintings, and it's like the paintings themselves are behind like blinds and stuff. So,
Hmm.
but they work.
Oh yeah.
And I will say though, especially for like the early sequences, I wonder what kind of color grading they used for like the orange of the sunset and everything. You know what I mean?
Don't know what to tell you there, man.
Yeah, I wonder how they did color grading back in the day. Because this is back when they were still shooting on film. So
Beats me.
it's not like nowadays when you can just go into Adobe Premiere and adjust a few settings in the color window.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say, but the effects are really are impressive. Like especially
And
that thing where he drops like all the explosives down the elevator, and
oh
like
yeah, that's awesome.
yeah, that kind of I thought that was cool. Or the roof explosion, or like the rooftop fights, thought were kind of neat.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Also too, I think even though this movie it very much like rewrote the book on like action heroes and stuff, it's still the action scenes are shot in a very 80s way where you have like close-ups of people firing guns, and then
oh,
it cuts to a shot of things breaking or people dying or whatever. Then it cuts back to
interesting.
people shooting, cuts back to close-ups of people shooting guns and stuff. It's kind of a
Mm-hmm.
basic way of shooting those kind of sequences, but it's very effective. It works.
Yeah, there's a I yeah, there is a scene. There's like another scene from another movie where one of it's El Mariachi, where I'm wondering if Robert Rodriguez probably took inspiration from that from those kinds of action shots where they're shooting close-ups of guns. Because I watched a featurette where one of the so I know I don't mean to get off topic here, but he says one of his prop guns had a hard time firing, so he had to like cut it in like such a way where you see a gunfire, other effects going on, gunfire, other effects going on. And made me wonder, did Robert Rodriguez probably take notes from like Die Hard and other '80s action films to make that scene?
Also, so obviously John McTiernan directed this movie. The movie he did before this was Predator, and the early action sequences in that movie are shot in basically the same way, where you
Oh
have
yeah,
shots of people firing guns, and then it cuts to like explosions and bodies flying all over.
yeah. Especially like the war scenes where we're fighting the humans before the predator shows up.
Yeah,
I've
yeah,
only seen that movie once, but I remember it pretty well. And by pretty well, I
yeah.
mean
It's a good,
I've definitely seen it. Yeah.
yeah, it's pretty bad. I'm pretty sure the scenes in the Rambo movies are shot the same way. Different director, but
Hmm.
um, I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure. Like I said, it was a pretty common way of shooting action sequences back then.
I'm gonna confess a sin real quick. I have not seen any of the Rambo movies.
That's fine.
I get yeah.
No
Okay, well,
judgment
let's see.
here.
Hopefully, the audience will be easy on me on that. We'll see.
Yeah. Um,
But yeah,
I'm trying to think. What else do I have to say about this movie? I do think it's cool though that yes, this is an action movie, but it has elements of like cop thrillers, where
it
it's like
does. Yeah.
where like you have John checking IDs and stuff.
Hmm.
After he kills one of the terrorists, he checks their ID and he recognizes that it's a phony ID.
Or the part or in the beginning where John is like, he's running away from the terrorists. He's trying to make sure no one sees him. He's
Yeah,
or after he fights that one guy, his first kill, he's like he takes his ID and all that.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
just
And he
it's a
checks the bag and he checks his bag and he sees like
yeah.
they have like explosives and stuff
And
and he
again,
gets
all
like the
that's
walkie.
accompanied by a really great score, which we talked about earlier in
Yeah,
the film.
exactly.
Hmm.
And I just love the moment where it's as Al is arriving and John is having a fight with that one guy in the office where Takagi got killed
Hmm.
and he's like under the table, right? And the guy has an MP5 and he's reloading it and he's like next time you have a chance to kill somebody don't hesitate, and right as he says that John just shoots him through the table and he's like thanks for the advice.
Yep. Indeed. Indeed.
I just love little moments like that are what make Die Hard such a fun movie to watch.
Oh yeah. Oh
It's
yeah.
like
I
the
couldn't agree
banter.
more.
It's like, man, that is just so cool.
Hmm. Oh yeah.
And like we
It's
talked about before, it's like the dynamic between Hans and John, as they're
yeah.
talking through the walkie, and how he calls him cowboy,
Cowboy. Yeah.
or he's like,
I like how John
or
just kind
he's,
of plays along, where he says like he's more of like a fan of that one. I'm sorry, I
yeah,
don't know my Western actors very well.
that one like John Wayne movie or something.
Yeah, I don't know if it
No,
was
no, no,
John
no,
Wayne movie.
no. Where Hans is like, it's like some American who saw too many movies as a child thinks it's John Wayne, Rambo, and John's like, I was always partial to Roy Rogers,
That's
actually.
it. That's the one. That's the one. That's the one. Yeah.
Do you really think you have a chance against us, Mr. Cowboy?
Yippee motherfucker.
Dude, we can quote so many of these goddamn scenes word for word. They're so
Yeah.
awesome.
I always like the more, I don't know, like one scenes that really again like the one scene that's probably gonna stick with me is probably the one where he's actually being more of a human, where he's like sharing the moment between Al and Al sharing the moment between him. Like not only does Al confess the story of when he shot the kid, but when John says like I just tell my wife that I'm sorry I was never supportive, and then Alan kind of gives her the
Yeah,
boost of saying I think you can tell her that yourself when you make it out alive. So I don't know,
yeah.
that scene just stuck out to me more like a sore
Yeah,
thumb
there
right there for
and
this.
going back to the theme of the police in this movie just getting in the way more than anything. He is the only cop that actually seems to believe John's story.
Oh,
Or
absolutely.
seems
I
to
mean, he
trust
was
him.
there since the beginning. Like a body fell on his car for crying out loud.
I'll be honest, I generally
I
don't
didn't mean to
like
be
to
angry
like
about that. I'm sorry about
to,
that.
to like I generally don't like to like be nitpick about movies, but that body that fell on Al's car, how do you not know there's bullet holes in that thing? And that one police chief, Dwayne Robinson, I believe was the guy's name. And he was like, it's like, how do you explain the body that fell in my car? And Robinson's all like, I don't know, maybe some depressed stockbroker or something just jumped out. Like that body had bullet holes in it. Like,
Mm.
how?
Oh yeah.
Again, I generally don't like to nitpick movies because I think a lot of them are pretty inconsequential, but I do think it's pretty
Hmm.
funny.
I feel like when you mentioned the incompetency of the police, like a lot of movies do that. Like not just Die Hard. Falling Down kind of does that a bit. Like why did nobody alert the police that there's a guy going on a minor rampage or
Well, but also too, compared to another '80s action movie, Rambo, the first Rambo, the police in that movie are pretty incompetent as
yeah.
well. I mean, it gets to the point where Rambo's commanding officer from Vietnam has to show up and be like, "Hey, you guys are idiots."
Hmm. Yeah.
And
You
I
got
feel like that's kind of what the police in this movie kind of needed. They needed a fucking slap in the face, like,
yeah.
"Hey." And that is a theme that carries over into Die Hard 2, but we'll talk about Die Hard 2 some other time.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but
Yeah. It's funny. The police can do everything. The police can hinder the protagonist, but they can't do everything.
yeah, and
Well,
again,
except the
going
ones
back,
in Falling Down, that they just kind of ignore him, and only one guy that's being Falling Down's a different topic for another day. In fact, I'm gonna write that down. The movies we need to cover.
I also like I love that one interaction between over the walkie between Deputy Chief Robinson and John McClane when he gets the walkie and I was like, listen here, you little asshole. And John's like, asshole? I'm not the one who just got butt fucked on national TV, Dwayne. And then it cuts to Argyle and he finds it funny because he has, I guess, the police radio in his car or something.
Oh
And
yeah,
and
yeah.
and,
Um, it's
and
also
John is like, hey, Dwayne, you're if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. Now put Al back on. Put the other guy back on.
yeah. He trusts Al more than anybody, and Al trusts him
Yeah,
too. I mean,
dude.
because
But
Al
you know,
even says like he's the only reason why we have this information in the first place.
yeah, and he even tells those two FBI guys, Johnson and Johnson, his no, Agent Johnson and Special Agent Johnson, no relation. They're and he even tells them he was like that John McClane guy is the reason you're dealing with 7 terrorists instead of 12.
Mhm.
And then the FBI guys are just like, all right, get the fucking helicopters fully loaded, let's go.
Oh man.
Because they seem totally okay with killing a few of the hostages. It's like they're even talking about that on the ride of the car. He's on the no, the helicopter ride to the building. They're like was like, yeah, we'll just open fire on the terrorists. We'll maybe lose like 20% of the hostages tops. Like
Mhm.
it's just so crazy that they're just openly talking about uh, being okay with killing some of the hostages.
Oh
Like
yeah. I mean,
it's
I'm surprised they didn't make the argument. Can't making the mother of all omelets can't throw over a few bad eggs or whatever. Just I'm surprised they didn't say anything like, then again, I'm overthinking this. It's an action
but again,
movie.
I think it it helps reinforce the one of the theme of the cops just getting in the way more than anything.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, John McClane is a New York cop, right?
Yeah, but he's like him and Al are like the two sensible cops and the only two sensible cops in the movie.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I can see that, but
And
like,
also note Reginald Vell Johnson, who plays Al. I don't think gets enough credit for his range. Like he's always type. If you want to talk about a guy who's typecasted, that dude plays like the same kind of cop in pretty much everything he's in. He's in
really.
Die Hard, in I think Family Matters as well,
Oh
and in
shoot,
some other things
I
as
feel like
well.
I've heard his name, but I keep forgetting about him. But yeah, I
No,
didn't
but
know that.
it's
I didn't
like
know the guy was
but it's like
typecasted.
he plays like the friendly, supportive cop so well. It's like, what do you want in an idealized version of a cop? It's like you want somebody who's, you know, in charge but not authoritative about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Is his
And
name
he's like
Johnson or Vel Johnson?
Val Johnson.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
original Val Johnson.
Okay.
But yeah, he
Interesting.
plays he's so good at that supportive, well-meaning uh cop character, you know. And
Oh yeah.
I also find it funny that he eats Twinkies and he's in that convenience store and he's buying all these like Twinkies and junk food and stuff. And the guy, the cashier is like, thought you guys ate donuts, not
It's for my
Twinkies.
wife.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, that is funny. Because yeah, it's like those little lighthearted moments in Die Hard that are sprinkled throughout that really give the film a
and
charm of its own.
yeah, and it makes some of these people feel more relatable. It feels more like a tangible world, you know.
Feel more human. Feels more human.
Again, comparing it to these to Schwarzenegger and Stallone movies, a lot of those
Yeah.
movies are great. By the way, I don't mean to slander them in any way,
We're not. We're
but
not. We're just saying
yeah, yeah.
it just stood out
But
from
it's
the
like
rest.
those dudes are so superhumanly like buff, and they just plow through everybody, you know.
Mm.
And those movies are almost more like power fantasies. You know what I mean?
Yeah, kind of are. Would you
Yeah,
consider
but
John
this
Wick a power fantasy, or is that a different league of its own?
um I'll be honest, I haven't seen John Wick. I'm somewhat embarrassed to admit that, but I
It's okay. I
wouldn't
haven't seen Rambo.
probably want to say so. Yeah. But yeah, but that's one of the things that makes these movies Die Hard more relatable and make the world feel more tangible with all these different little moments
Mm-hmm.
between the characters.
Oh yeah, definitely. I don't really. I've run out of things to say about Die Hard. I think it's a really great movie. The quintessential action movie kind of laid the groundwork for, like, not no, it didn't really lay the
I mean
groundwork,
it
but it's
I mean
just one
it
of those
rewrote
movies that you definitely remember and it stands out, and
I
it's
mean
just
I
such
mean
a
it
charming and fun movie.
I mean look, it rewrote the book on how action movies go. Like, think about all the movies that came out in its wake that were basically similar to it, like Speed and Air Force One and all the other ones that came out. I'm trying to remember some of them, but
It's not really much of an action movie.
there were a lot of movies that had this format of a guy taking on a group of terrorists or robbers or whatever in a small confined space. You know what I
You got
mean?
me. Yeah, you got me thinking of this one movie of Liam Neeson, but I can't remember the name of it.
I'm trying. I can't remember.
It's
the name
not
of it either.
Taken, but it has a similar thing where he's in a small confined space, and it's more. It plays out more like a whodunit thriller than an action movie.
Yeah, I
Trying to
remember.
remember.
I was watching for fun last night. After I watched the movie. I was watching. I'm sure you guys know what honest trailers are, right?
Yeah, I know what Honest Trailers is.
Yeah, they did one about Die Hard when they at the end of it they were going at all the different Die Hard inspired movies, and they were just going like Die Hard on a boat, Die Hard on a bus, Die Hard on a plane, Die Hard on this other plane, Die Hard on the president's plane. Because like it
You
really
got me
makes
thinking
you
of that
feel
once.
like so
Sorry.
many movies use this very format that Die Hard helps create for action movies, especially as we went into the 90s.
Mm-hmm. What was the name? Sorry, you got me trying to think of that one movie with Liam Neeson where he's like in a confined space and it plays out more like a whodunit thriller. I don't know if it was on a subway or a bus. It might have been a subway. But now you got me curious. Oh, is it? Wait, is this it? Yep, this is it. This. Oh
What
wait,
is
no,
it?
no, wait, hang on. No, that's not it. That's not. That's a plane. That's not it. You know what? Well, maybe the next episode I'll try and remember what that movie is because I cannot remember. Like, if anyone in the comments can help me out, it's Liam Neeson. He's in like either in a bus or a subway, and he finds a mysterious plot going on, and I don't. That's all I remember. I mean, there's a scene where he gets someone to help him out, but said person that's about to help him gets pushed onto a bus and it's ruled as a suicide when really it was a murder. That's all I remember. And there's
It
like a
doesn't
girl
ring
who
a
deals
bell.
fake IDs as well. So, audience, help me out. Help me out, please.
All right. I've pretty much run out of all the things I wanted to say about Die Hard. Do you guys have anything else to add?
I've pretty much said everything I wanted to say. It's a good movie.
Tim?
Uh, you've heard of Die Hard Trilogy, right? The video game.
Uh,
Yeah, I've
no.
heard of that. I've never
You
played
know,
it, but I've heard of it.
well, it was on the PlayStation, and I remember having to do a presentation on it back during COVID when I was in SF State. It was basically a basic presentation about the game. What it was basically, it was a pop culture class. You know, it was like intro to pop culture. So I talked
They
about
have those
Die Hard.
classes?
What
They have those classes? Like Intro to Pop
about
Culture?
about pop culture? Yes, and they have one at DVC as well. So
What
it's
does it
about
cover? Like
introduction.
Star Wars and stuff? Sorry.
It covers movies and how these revolutionary movies have changed society, how they've contributed to like popular culture, how things have changed. You know, like it set pretty much like movies and TV that just pretty much set the world on fire. So it was a fun class, but it was a lot of reading to do. So,
Hmm.
but you'd be surprised at how good it was. But you had to do a lot of reading about television and TV. Well, I mean movies, as well as many other subjects like celebrities, actors. You know how they all impacted the world and everything. It was about a lot of that. So I would personally recommend a pop culture like class. So I had to do a presentation on Die Hard, the game, the Die Hard trilogy on the PlayStation, on the Windows and Sega Saturn. I remember covering that in extensive detail, but I made a report about it, and it was fun to cover. And you guys should actually play the game as well if you have an original PlayStation or a PS3 at least. You know, because it's actually a really good game.
I have a PS2. I know the PS2 is backwards compatible with PS1,
Hmm.
so
Yeah, and
I
you
have
need a
that.
PS1 memory card as well. And I
I
really
well,
recommend it.
I've got a PS2 memory card.
No,
Hmm.
no, no, no,
So
no. They have no. The PS1 and PS2 memory cards are completely different. You know, memory cards. They're not backward. You know, like they're not. They don't save the same way. So you have to buy a PS1 memory card you know, treat them as they're treated as separate consoles, so they can't save in the same card. So
Hmm.
you have to buy one on Amazon or go to your retro game store and buy a PS1 memory card. But the game is pretty cheap on eBay, so it should be around like $10. For basically 3 games in 1. I gotta recommend it. So because I know you two would have a lot of fun with that one, for certain.
Well, if it's good, it's good.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
very good. You should like. I mean, it didn't set the world on fire, but it was part. It wasn't a launch title, but it was pretty good in its own right. It's an action game plus light gun rail game as well as a driving game, all in one, which fits the theme of the trilogy. But personally, though, it's one of my favorite games, and I played it a lot during COVID. So I truly recommend Die Hard Trilogy for the PlayStation. It's the most convenient way to play it, and it doesn't work on Windows anymore because the software is so old. It can't even run on modern hardware, and
That sucks.
yeah. So
So,
don't.
so Tim, do you have anything to say about Die Hard the movie?
Yeah.
Not too much, but I know it was a good movie. I can't believe I missed out on a lot because I saw I saw a little bit of it on TV, but I just remember where all the broken glass and his foot was cut up, and I didn't want you know but I remember those scenes specifically. But other than that, I did watch the whole movie all these years later, and yep. It's no wonder why it set the world on fire. And about Bruce Willis himself, like it sure seems like he's been getting himself into a lot of sloppy movies as of late. So
Well, I don't know
Oh,
if you guys have heard, but a couple years ago he was diagnosed with some form of dementia.
dementia.
So he
Yeah, I
can't.
heard about that,
Yeah,
and
so he can't.
he's been doing those
So he
movies for
can't
like
act anymore.
yeah he can't. Which
So he can't really act anymore.
I saw a video of him like just recently. It's like a new video where he's like really old and he's with his surrounded by family, and he just doesn't look good, man. Fuck.
So he does. He's been doing a lot of those sloppy movies just because he's really needed the money
Yeah, dude,
because
he
of
needs
all
that
that. He
money
only
to like
had
cover
like
medical.
you
Is it for
yeah,
medical expenses or his
cover medical
family? I
stuff.
mean, or is it both? Oh my god, it's
Probably
probably
both.
both.
Probably both. Because like he needed that money and he needed it quickly before the dementia became too much. So
Yeah, I think the
and
video I
so
just saw that I told you about. I think it's not like a full on YouTube video. It's like something I saw on Twitter. It's just like holy fuck, this guy is collapsing before our eyes, and like I'm not trying to
yeah,
be
and
funny. It
it's
is
sad.
genuinely sad. It is
It
genuinely sad.
it is sad, and not to get too deep into it, but I think several years ago before he retired, because he's officially retired from acting.
Hmm.
I think several years ago there were plans for a Die Hard 6, but I'm 100% certain that's not happening anymore.
Hmm.
But
Yeah,
but
I
well, to be
mean,
fair, from what I know, people weren't too big on the last Die Hard movie, The Good Day to Die Hard. I haven't seen it, but
I
I have
haven't
not
seen it
heard
either.
too many positive things about it.
I've heard no good things about it.
No, neither have I. I've heard only
Hmm.
negative things about it.
You think
So,
I haven't seen it? But I'm wondering. I'm wondering if who am I? I don't want to get too deep.
that was back in 2012, I want to say. So,
Wow.
2013.
2013, yeah, that's when it came out. Yeah,
Yeah. Well, I think it's best that Willis kind of spends time with his family as much as he can, like he did in that video, and
yeah,
keep enjoying life till it decides it's done with him.
yeah,
As of recording this, he's still alive, right?
yeah.
Okay, good. As of recording this, he's still alive, but I ain't gonna deny that he's left a hell of a legacy behind.
Yeah, yeah. The whole situation is very, very sad because I think he's still only in his I think he's in his 60s or 70s. I think I don't
Fucking hell,
exactly know how
really?
old he is.
I'm looking. I'm curious now. 1955, age 69. Oh fuck,
1955.
man.
Yeah. So
Fuck,
he's
man.
Yeah, so he's not
Wait,
super old.
I
wait.
know.
So he's got dementia at that young. Like
Yeah.
Fuck.
that's, that's crazy. Just
Well,
just
well, uh, I guess this is how we end the pod. As we end this episode on a pretty sad note.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully he enjoys what's left of his life.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I I guess the only way I could try and turn this into a positive spin on the ending is we talk about any like Die Hard references we've seen, because there's tons of Die Hard references, and I
Oh
mean
yeah.
tons. Like I think there's an entire
Yeah.
Dexter's Lab episode that's basically just a reference to Die Hard.
I think there was
oh yeah.
one.
Hey, guess what? You know
Huh?
that Bruce Willis actually made an animated series. Can you believe that?
No, but what does this
He
have to
was
do with Die Hard?
well. It's called Bruno the Kid. It stars Bruce Willis himself. It's basically a parody of action movies that it was in. It's called Bruno the Kid. Just look it up. It's free to watch on Tubi. He himself created that animated show, but yeah, it's got some references to Die Hard. So you might want
Hmm.
to look it up real quick. It's called Bruno the Kid. It aired back in '96. So shortly after
Yeah,
Die
but
Hard
is
3.
there like an episode that's like a full on homage, like the Dexter episode I mentioned?
No, but what you mentioned reminded me of this short little, this. It was called Bruno the Kid. Just look it up, man. It's just that when you reference it, that immediately popped in my head, dude.
Yeah, but I was just trying to
Well,
lighten the mood.
there was a thing on Family Guy several years ago where Peter Griffin basically reenacted a scene from Die Hard, the one where he's swinging on the thing and shooting the window.
Oh yeah.
You know what?
Wait,
You
was
know
it
that
Peter or
scene.
Cleveland Brown? Because I think there was a joke about there was a Cleveland show joke about that where he does the window and like he shoots the window, but like instead of the freaking like fire hydrant hose, it's a bathtub, and he's like saying no, 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 no. Well, trying to
Oh
untie
yeah,
the thing.
yeah. That's what it is. I don't know why I thought it was Peter. Oh
Yeah, the
well.
Cleveland show's
I
show
I haven't
changed.
I've, I
So
haven't watched newer Family Guy in forever. So,
I think that's the
anyways,
Cleveland show, but TVH I could be wrong.
Cleveland show, Cleveland show, Family Guy. I mean,
Yeah, it's kind of the same, really. I
some
mean,
some are not
it was
exactly the same
essentially the
show, but
same show, which is why it probably got canceled.
yeah.
But
Anyways,
anyways,
I don't have much else to add, so
yeah,
I think we're gonna wrap this up.
that's about it. Hopefully, we ended on a much lighter note. Because imagine people go home, listen to this podcast, remembering that Bruce Willis is dying. But for what it's worth, enjoy what time you can with your family, and yeah. Anyways, this has
Yeah,
been
and
another exciting episode of Movie Mortis. We hope you enjoyed this episode. I've been Nick.
I've been Drew.
Yeah, I've been Tim, ladies and
All
gentlemen.
right, you have a wonderful day, and we hope to see you in the next episode. Bye.
Yep.